What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Game Time Discussions. My name is Cameron Selby here with Emery Cuzzy, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most important positions in football, breaking down the 2024 edge prospects. We have 7 in our rankings, 3 honorable mentions. We're going to just kind of break down a little bit each and as we go. There's some pretty good names out there.
Yeah, I think that this class is really top heavy. There's no elite. We're not going to see a number 1 overall pass rusher, but there are some really, really solid guys that are going to be future all-pro players and stuff. So solid guys, constant up top, high floors, things like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's not, I wouldn't say a top 5 prospect in the entire draft as an edge rusher.
No.
But, which is kind of uncommon compared to recent drafts. However, there's still very good pro-ready guys.
Mm-hmm.
3 at the top, very different in their own ways, but all of them ready to contribute right away. It'd be interesting to get into, especially as we're comparing them to other analysts. And so we'll just jump right into it. First off, we're going to do some honorable mentions. We're going to go Adisa Isaac out of Penn State, Marshawn Nealon out of Western Kentucky, and Javon Solomon out of Troy. Give us a little bit of a tip about each one. I know there's 2 lower tier schools, one of a higher tier,
Right.
but is the second edge from his school. So kind of break each one down a little bit.
Yeah, so starting at the top, Adisa Isaac, his biggest issue during this postseason was his 40. We expected him to do pretty well. All the Penn State guys did really well. And then he ran a 4.7 at, I believe it was 240 something pounds. That is an issue. That's a little worrisome. But he's a first team All Big Ten player. Pretty solid all around. He's kind of a jack of all trades. He had an 11.4% run stop rate, which is really high. Really impressive. So yeah, he's a solid player. Just, I don't think that there's an insane, the ceiling that you want to see. I think that the floor he's a safe guy. Makes him probably a mid round 2 guy, but he's just not going to jump off the screen and do anything crazy. And when you get a Penn State guy, that's kind of what you want.
Right.
So
yeah. So Marshawn Nealon, Western Kentucky, I believe D2, correct?
No, D1. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So either way, mid major program.
Yeah.
And one of the kind of unknowns. Give us a little bit about him.
So he's actually very interesting because he had all the production. Okay, this is not a comparison, but when Max Crosby came out of Eastern Michigan, we were really high on him because he had all the production, he had the size, the ability, all the things, right? And so it's not that, mid-major teams don't produce good players. It's just they're really hard to find. Marshawn Nealon, not Max Crosby in this draft. I'm not saying that, but he's definitely he's a fun guy to watch. High motor. Last year, before Braden Fisk transferred to Florida State, he played at Western Kentucky next to him at the D tackle spot. Think about this. You got high motor in the inside, about highest motor, at the inside in Braden Fisk, and then you get Marshawn Nealon, who's just another high motor guy, 6'3", 275, hard to block for that type of conference. You know what I'm saying? He's a great run stopper, gonna really have that on his resume for all of it. And then one of the big things, he had a 17.3% pass rush win rate, which is really high. Like we said, though, it's a smaller conference, but it's basically up there with the rest of these guys in the top 7. Just a good player all around. Just don't know if he's going to be all pro level, I guess is the best way to put it. So
gotcha. Yeah, and then Javon Solomon, Troy. Obviously, Troy is one of the lower tier programs as well, but we have seen success from edge rushers come from there. DeMarcus Ware, OCU in Europe come to mind. Mm-hmm. So give me a little bit about him. Is he somebody that could be that joins them as a successful NFL?
So he's hard to see where he's going to be because he played hand in the dirt defensive end. And a lot of people, including like Mel Kiper, they see him almost as like an off-ball linebacker, which is really hard to like. That's why he's on here. Also, is like he's an interesting guy. He had 16 sacks this year, which led the nation in sacks. First team All Sun Belt. Really productive player. Had a 90.9 PFF grade, which is one of the highest we have. And so just good player. Just don't know where he's going to fit. Outside linebacker makes a lot of sense. I think he could be a stand-up guy. Foot, no hand in the dirt. I mean, 240 pounds, not as big as he probably could be. Not as tall as some of these other guys. He just very productive. So he has that, but I don't know if it translates is the biggest problem. And also, I don't know if he's going to be an outside linebacker, a stand-up linebacker, or a 5 technique. So it's a little bit hard to also
he might be a situational
right.
guy that fits in the right spot, that the depth of your class will be strengthened by him, but he's not going to be the guy that you look at that class and he's going to be the standout.
Right, exactly.
So, yes, we're going to start off our rankings. Number 7, Jonah Elliss. Give us a little bit about him. Really high pressure rate, really productive. One of the highest graded players, but he does have some age on him. Tell us a little bit about the first team All-American.
So Jonah Elliss is a fun guy because he reminds me of like you've seen Over the Hedge.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So he's the hammy he's the hammy type of player, just constantly moving. Like sometimes he does like we always joked when I was playing that I made random hand movements that I didn't need. They like took away from like whatever, but he does that. As you can see in the picture, he's flying. He's got his arms out. He kind of just does that. He's always moving. He has 2 brothers that played in the league. They both played offensive line, I believe. He just kind of his biggest problem, and I was actually going to preface this, was he's 248. He needs to put weight on. Well, he has 2 brothers that played offensive line. So I don't think that that's actually going to be a problem. His biggest problem is he's old. He's much older than a lot of the guys at 23.6 years old. And that's when the season starts. But he has a lot of really good abilities rushing the passer. As you can see, that's him. I believe he did make that sack on Caleb Williams, the number 1 pick in the draft, we expect. And he was very productive. But he has his limitations. Athleticism is an issue. But you also like have to think like he's probably never going to be a number 1 edge, but him as a number 2 edge is a lot of like fun. He's going to help a team out. That constant motor, that type of play, like teams need that. And if he can put some weight on, he'll be really good in the run game too.
Right. So. Yeah, I kind of see it in the scenario of just teams like Buffalo or San Fran that pride themselves on having a lot of depth at edge, like just taking off there.
Right.
But being a guy that's drafted to be the next man and immediately coming in and just solely being relied on, we'll just kind of see. He needs that, like you said, definitely needs to put on weight. One of my favorite references of Over the Hedge that we've done on this podcast so far. So nice. I'm still smiling about that.
Yeah.
So, moving on, let's go to Chris Braswell, Alabama. Wasn't as productive, obviously, but he still is raw and an edge that can drive.
Yeah, so his production, if you look at like this year versus last year, he played next to Will Anderson and Dallas Turner 2 years ago. So it was really hard for him to just be on the field. He's a former 5-star. Like he's a good player. He just couldn't get on the field because there was just so much talent around him. My biggest thing with him is he's not great in the run game. And I feel like my biggest worry is he going to have to end up being just a pass rusher? He can't play on early downs, situational guy. And that worries me. Like if I'm going to draft, I don't want to draft a guy mid-second, early second that's like, oh, this guy's probably only going to play, 50% of the snaps if we at full speed, like, if he's not tired. But good 4.6. That's solid 40. He has all the athleticism. That's not the problem. It's just, can he be able to play? Is he a 3-down player? And I think that we gotta hopefully he can do that. He's most likely going to have to fit in a certain scheme where he's an outside linebacker. I don't think he can be the guy that is hand in the dirt every time. He's not. I don't think he can put the weight on for it either. So I think that that's something that's a little bit. There's some give and takes for sure. We saw some really good situational pass rushers this year get paid. So it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just it's harder to get paid. It's harder to be that guy.
Yeah, and one thing I will add, obviously, the stars coming out is not the end all be all. Obviously, we've seen low star guys just become and rise and be top picks. But at the same time, rarely do you see 5 stars fall and not be one of the best coming out, and then all of a sudden come back up and be that big guy. Obviously, he didn't produce in the manner that you would expect that a 5-star to do. That's my biggest concern from the outside looking in. It's just like if you underwhelmed based on your coming in and being in one of the better situations, like you said, Dallas Turner, Will Anderson being with you, and you're still, kind of middling. How am I supposed to expect more now that you're going to be even more of an afterthought on the next level? So moving on, Bralen Trice, he's been one of your favorite guys to talk about so far a little bit. He cracks the top 5, one of the highest grades against the run. He is also 23 years old. He's one of the guys that, having solid production, the athleticism wasn't great at the combine.
Wasn't what we expected for sure.
A little bit up and down, but he's definitely a name that we had to mention.
Well, I think too is like on the board it shows 245. Well, I put all the combine weights, but there's no way this man plays at 245. We had him on our biggest fallers because he went to 245 and still couldn't run the fast enough 40. But the difference is he plays at 275. He kind of reminds me of AJ Epinesa when he came out. Not the best athlete. One of those guys, though, that is a competitor, a gamer, loves getting like dirty in the trenches. It's it is what it is. And I love his, style of play because he does like that 90. He is all deserving of the 90 pass rush grade. But I believe that he should have got a higher run stopping grade. A 70 is not high enough to me because of what he did for his team. He was easily the best player he was the bookend player on the Washington defense. He deserved a better grade than that personally. I mean, we talk about PFF all the time. It doesn't always translate exactly, but this is.
Yeah, and to clarify, I did misspeak. I meant to say one of the highest pass rush.
Right. Of course.
But we did talk prior to getting on here about how we felt like he was a much better edge, like run stopper than he was given credit for. So that's why I wanted to emphasize. Misspoke on the numbers, but the fact still remains to be seen.
So me personally, I don't give him as much of a tick down as some people might because of his athleticism. I never tested well when I played sports. When I played football, I never tested well. And it didn't always translate to my ability on the football field because there were guys that were much faster, much more athletic than me that didn't see the field while I was playing. So it's just one of those things. You have to take it a little bit with a grain of salt because he was so good. I'm going to take his film over his combine all day long.
That just kind of seems like one of those where he wanted to emphasize his athleticism and it didn't pan out in his favor.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so moving on, now we get into the guys that are fringe to, for sure, first-round picks. Starting with Chopper Robinson, he's one of the most polarizing players at edge because he could go either way, whether it be a bust or be the best in the class based on his athleticism. Obviously, the production is not what you want it to be. Doesn't have a ton of moves, but he's young. He can grow. Talk us through him and why people are so high on him.
Well, I think I should preface this with there's tiers to this group. And so the first 3 guys, the ones above Chop, are in their own tier. They're separate from Chop. Chop is in his own tier right there. And then there's Bralen Bralen and Chris Braswell. Like those guys are in another separate tier.
Right.
So Chop is tier 2 by himself, all alone. And it has a lot to do with the fact that, he, like you said, could be the best edge out of all of them. Or he could be a guy that's out of the league in 4 years. It's just one of those weird players. But one thing I do want to talk about is his 20.9% pass rush win rate. It's awesome. He is a freak athlete. And my biggest problem too is he doesn't, like, Adisa Isaac played with him. We just talked about him. Adisa Isaac was on the field every down. Chop Robinson was not. Chop Robinson had to come out at times for the run game against the run.
Mm-hmm.
Another possible guy like Chris Braswell, who is just a situational pass rusher. And that scares me because if he uses everything that he has, his God-given talents, if he uses everything he's got, he is the most freakish athlete. And he could be, like we said, the best edge. But he has to be on the field for 3 downs. And right now, I have a hard time seeing him do that. He could gain some weight. He's also only 21.6 years old. Those types of things. He ran a 4.48. Like,
and just to re-clarify, these are the ages at the start of the season,
right?
correct? So, yeah. So he's just turned 21, basically.
Yeah, right now.
So yeah, he's one of the youngest at his position. A lot of room for growth, like you said, but he needs to work on not overly relying on his athleticism because he's not always going to be,
the most. I mean, he's gonna. Well, he did a really good job against offensive tackles that weren't as good as him. Like, you know what I mean? Like when he had to play elite tackles, Olu Fashanu. Olu's on his own team. I'm sorry. When he played Michigan, when they go against like Michigan or Ohio State, those tackles, he didn't really do anything. He wasn't productive. He has one of the quickest first steps in the class, though. He's definitely a polarizing player, and wherever he goes, it'll either be an A+ grade or a D- grade type of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think he has a wide range of outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Would not be shocked if somebody reached on him in the late teens, but would also not be shocked if he fell into the second round.
Right.
Very wide range. Again, not sure where we're going to put him. We're going to be doing our mock next week, but that's just kind of, he's a polarizing guy, like we said. He's going to come with a lot of risk, but it could be rewarding if he goes to the right situation.
Exactly.
So, jumping into our top 3, like Emery said previously, these are in a tier of their own, way different situation. Established starters, Jared Verse, 2-time All-American. He's just been very, very productive. The only thing is he was supposed to be a top 12 pick last year, and he came back. And I'm not sure if that worked out for him the best because his production was down a little bit. He was still one of the best players on undefeated team.
Yeah.
But I don't think it helped his draft stock, but it didn't necessarily hurt it because I think a lot of people are relying on his film and his overall history.
Right. He should be a Raider. We should have taken him last year with our pick in the first round. But 23.8 years old. It's a little worrisome. All of the numbers, his 18.2% pressures per snap, his 21.8% pass rush win rate. Those are all great numbers. But they don't tell the story of his speed to power. His speed to power is by far the best in this class. I don't know if recently, I don't know that there's been anybody that has the same ability when it comes to that. Mm-hmm. Speed to power just means you're pressing with your speed off the ball, and then you basically go into the offensive linemen, strong arm them, and press them into the quarterback, and close the pocket. Well, I've seen this guy knock down 2 quarterbacks with their own offensive tackles. So his speed to power is just on another level, and that's my favorite part about him. His pass rush grade, 90.5. I think that's very reasonable. He's good against the run too. He's just a 2-time All-American. just exactly what you'd expect him to be. Good player all around. Doesn't have any issues except for the fact that he has a little bit hip bend issues, and he's not as explosive as one of the guys above him.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, when you were saying Raiders, Jared Verse, Raiders were the 7th pick.
Yeah.
So that's how high he was going.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's no chance that he or any edge rusher goes that high this year. I think it's a combination of that's kind of where they are as prospects. They're probably all in the 10 to 15 range.
Yeah.
But also needs based
Depth.
on other positions.
Mhm.
So I think he's kind of getting the short end of the stick because of his age. And really, it's just kind of, I feel like teams are just kind of knocking him a little bit because it's like you came out a little too late.
Yeah.
But he's going to be productive in this league. I don't know if he can become an all-pro like we thought, before. However, Pro Bowl is very in the realm of possibilities, and he could be as high as 16, 12, and if he went over any of the guys above him at 2 or 1 in our rankings, we wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, this is a tier. Like if you think that, Dallas Turner's first, if you think Jared Verse is first, if you think Laiatu Latu's first, just it's a different. They're all different. They're so different, and so you just have to kind of figure out who you think will be the best pass rusher at the next level.
Yeah, so let's jump right into our top two. Somebody that in a lot of people's eyes is the top edge rusher and also one of the betting favorites to be the first defensive player off the board,
Right.
Dallas Turner. Very young, but very, very athletic, and he had the production that we would expect of a 5-star like Chris Braswell. He really kind of came into his own this year now that Will Anderson was finally gone. SEC Co-Defensive Player of the Year, All-American linebacker. Give us your take. Is he being at to something like a demotion or something that we're not as high on, or is that just kind of that we're higher on the other guy?
I had so much difficulty picking which one of these two guys would go first. I think Dallas Turner gets the benefit of the doubt because of the age. And also everybody loves looking at the combine and being like, oh, well, he runs really fast. He jumped out of the world. He's a freak athlete. He's got to be the number one guy. And so I think that's why a lot of people put Dallas Turner at 1. And I get it. I completely get it. Dallas Turner's a great player. And I'm not going to put him, there's no putting him down. Like, he could have been 1. Absolutely. But, there are some things that he also doesn't have. And that has to do with his, he doesn't have a bunch of pass rush moves and counters. He wins with speed a lot. And at this level, that makes sense. Chop Robinson does the same thing. We just talked about him. They win with speed because the offensive tackles aren't as quick and as fast as them. It's just, I wanted to see more, I guess. But he has so much time to develop. He's going to be a starter for a long time in the league. It's not, I'm not going against him. One thing that I did notice on his film was he made a lot of sacks against tight ends because he plays outside linebacker. He was an All-American at linebacker, not at D end, which I think makes a little bit of a difference. He could put some weight on. 247, that's not a bad weight, but he doesn't have the arm length. I mean, he has the arm length also that helps him out. I was talking about a different player. But it's just he has all the physical abilities. I just want to see the other things, like the pass rush moves, the speed to power, the stunts, those types of things. So that's my biggest problem.
Yeah, and my thing isn't whether or not he can be a productive NFL player, but when you go in the range that you do, there's there's elevated expectations.
Right.
So if you are a fringe top 10 pick, you're expected to be the best edge rusher on your team for at least the first half decade, and then because edge is one of the highest paid players, then you get the big deal either with your team, you reset the market. I don't know if he can be that tier of player. And if we were putting him in other edge classes, he would not be number one.
No.
So I don't even know if he would be in the tier of those top guys. He is a very solid player that I think might be a little overdrafted, but he's a prospect. He's not. I don't think can't miss, and he's in a range where you're expecting him to be that way.
So if we had the conversation to me about that class that was just offensive line and defense, with Aiden Hutchinson and Trayvon Walker and Kayvon Thibodeau. Who else was there? There's one more, I think. Is there one more edge? I'm blanking, but those guys, I don't think Dallas Turner's in that conversation between those three.
Mhm.
The next guy is always going to be in the first tier conversation. That's the cool part about. So let's jump over.
Yeah, Laiatu Latu, 96.3 PFF grade.
Perfect. Perfect.
That's just as high as I've ever seen before.
It's the highest
It's
ever.
the highest
ever.
Any position. So 26% pressure win rate.
Yeah.
20% pressure per snap. Like, production is there. It's all there. Ted Hendricks winner, All-American, Lombardi Award winner. Like, he's the guy. He's just old.
Yeah. But my thing is, like, I was trying to make the if he's in any class, he's in tier 1. Like, he could be in any class and still be considered tier 1 because of his abilities. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the most athletic guy. He's not the biggest guy or anything like that. He is the most productive guy. He knows how to set up offensive linemen. His jump, oh my gosh. So basically he does this like jump step outside and then like double slaps. It's beautiful every time because he did it like 6 times. I don't know how they didn't catch on, right? But he steps inside, jumps, slaps, and then makes a sack damn near every time he does it.
Mm-hmm.
He probably has 15 pass rush moves plus counters, so
he's so technically sound.
Yeah, say they throw the ball 40 times a game, he's going to run he's going to run 15 times, so like 2.5 of them he'll run the same one twice maybe in the whole game. Like, he's got so much ability. 13 sacks, it doesn't do him justice. Does not do him justice. His amount of pressures, 1/5 of the time they throw the ball, he's going to get a pressure. He's going to beat your offensive tackle 1/4 of the time, which is a lot. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot. It is a ton. That's including double teams. That's including other things. Chips. He gets chipped a lot. He just doesn't have all the athleticism that, Dallas Turner has. If I'm gonna, follow the box score basically of the combine and the age and all these things without looking at the player, Dallas Turner's first. That's kind of what I think, a lot of people do. But Latu is like, you want a guy that's going to win right now, like help you right now. It's Latu. His pro day, his field drills there's nobody that is anywhere close, that has ever been close to me personally. There's a reason he is the first ever best PFF grade.
So let me ask you this, because he's not really being considered as a top 10 pick this year, not only because of other need elsewhere, but people pretty comfortably have him or even a corner or two as defensive players off the board for him.
Right.
Why did it take him so long to have one of the best, most productive seasons ever?
Well, he did have the issue. He was medically retired at Washington, and then UCLA passed him. Last year, the year before this one, he was productive, but he wasn't otherworldly productive.
Mm-hmm.
This year, he just, I don't really understand, like, because I never would have been like, oh, Laiatu Latu is going to be the Lombardi Award winner, the Ted Hendricks winner, first team All-American, possibly the defensive player of the year in the country. I never would have thought that. He had to have put in some insane work to get to the situation that he is in. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it has to do with age, because I think a lot of people are like, well, he's older than everybody. He's more experienced. Well, yeah, but there's 27-year-olds, 28-year-olds in the NFL that don't have 15 pass rush moves. that don't have the production that he has or will ever have the production that he has at that level. So I really don't know what took him so long. He just was a late bloomer and just figured it out.
It's a little bit of a concern when it's a late bloomer, but I mean, it usually pays off in the long run when you are productive.
Right.
Production is king, and that's just kind of one of the concerns, because if he did come out last year, like you said, he was productive, but he would have been a mid-round pick that would have been high risk because the injuries and just the lack of sample size.
Mm-hmm.
But now you got the sample size, but it took him another year to get going. So hard pill to swallow, but he will be a top 20 pick in my eyes, at the very latest 21, 22. And whoever he does fall to, it's probably going to be one of our 5 or 6 best or favorite picks.
Yeah, and you got to think, like, he probably will be the third edge off the board based on what everybody thinks. Mm-hmm. I just, like, that's fine, but he's going to go to a team that's ready to win. He's going to go to a team, if he does fall, like, say he goes to, like, let's see. Daniel Jeremiah. He goes to the Los Angeles Rams. Like, he's they're ready to win. They're ready to get back to being, division winners and playing for an NFC championship possibly. So he would be the perfect guy to come in and just be ready, like, has all the skills to play right now. Also, you pick him in the first round. He's got 4 years on contract. He'll be 27.6 years old when that last season comes up, when you give him a 5th year. Like, that's not that old, It's after that matters. But I've already had 5 years of him.
It's the third contract that's kind of going to be more talked about with him.
Yeah.
Because we anticipate he'll get there at some point in some regard. So, with that being said, that wraps up our Edge prospect rankings. We appreciate you guys joining us. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out all the other positional videos we got going on. But yeah, thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff coming up. We're going to do, of course, the rest of these positional videos, knocking them out. We just did a mock the mock. Go check that out. It's really fun video. And then we're going to do our second mock draft coming up, hopefully before the end of March. That's the plan, at least. Getting into, April, where it's crunch time, 25 days before the draft at that point. So, we really appreciate it. Go check out all our socials. We're really active on Twitter right now because of all the free agents. We're going to be active going into getting closer to the draft. And then, we'll put out some reaction videos and grading how the draft went for these teams. So we're excited. We appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all, guys. Y'all take care. Have a good one. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.